Hello and welcome to Dialogue. U.S. President Donald Trump has deployed 2,000 National Guard troops to handle escalating protests against immigration enforcement raids in the Los Angeles area, a move the state's governor has called purposefully inflammatory. What sparked the protests, and are the enforcement raids justified? And also in the second half, we are going to take a look at new projections for China's economic outlook for this year. Join us for discussion today, live from Beijing. I'm Xu Qinduo. Joining me today are Anthony Chen, former JPMorgan Chase chief economist, Radhika Desai, visiting professor at the Department of International Development of the London School of Economics, and Professor Qian Jun, executive dean of International School of Finance at Fudan University. Welcome to Dialogue. Anthony, I will start with you. So we all saw the pictures of the large-scale protests in Los Angeles. There's reports about people would attribute to this protest to the raid or the detention of some about 100 undocumented immigrants in a place close to Home Depot in Los Angeles. So is that the only factor? What's behind the protest here?
Shindor, there are many factors out there. Certainly, I don't take sides, but I will tell you that the frustration arises from several factors. One, it's one thing to start basically taking into custody criminals and people that have done bad things, but now they're going into businesses, restaurants, even high schools to pluck out high school students. So the people are very upset. Remember that in March of this year, the president basically took away or eliminated the humanitarian parole system, and that for 500,000 people. That means that these individuals will lose their ability to work and support their families. These are not criminals. These are people that are trying to survive. And then, of course, the goal of the administration is to basically deport as many as 1 million undocumented workers, and many of these have temporary work permits. Those will be suspended, and so they will not be able to support their families. I certainly, as I said, do not take sides, but when you take up to 1 million people and you prevent them from working and supporting their families, and they're there, there's going to be a lot of frustration. And I think this is part of it. And that's not just it. The administration in the Big Beautiful Bill Act, I wrote a paper on this on Substack.com, is now trying to propose a remittance tax of up to 3.5%. And this 3.5% remittance tax means that these people that are working very hard, these undocumented, but have legal working status, if they send money home to their families that are struggling, they will have to pay 3.5% tax on that. And of course, studies show, as I document in my paper, that for every 1% increase in the cost of remittance, it reduces the number or the amount of remittances by 1.6%. So there's a lot of frustration out there. And as I said, it's one thing to take away the ability of criminals to sort of roam around the United States, but this is a second thing. This is now going into establishments and places and basically plucking them out and trying to take away their ability to earn money.
Radhika, how do you see the development or evolution of this issue? Of course, we have been hearing news of the U.S. government cracking down on the undocumented immigrants. That's their part of their, the goal of the, let's say, Trump 2.0. And why is it happening in Los Angeles?
Well, So how do I see it? First of all, well, as you know, Trump's presidency so far has been very chaotic on a number of fronts, and Trump's just added one more front. When he during the election campaign, he had won the election by essentially on an anti-immigrant platform. Originally, he had promised to deport as many as 11 million immigrants, allegedly undocumented. We don't know exactly who has been arrested, but what we do know is that the economy of the United States, particularly of southern states like California, relies on immigrant labor. Economically, this is going to bring in a lot of chaos. Secondly, the protests are happening simply because, if you are an immigrant, if you've been living somewhere for years, maybe decades in some cases, you're contributing to the economy. You have friends, you have family. So all of these people are out on the streets protesting the unfair treatment of people they live right next to. So this is another element. Why Los Angeles? Why California? This is also very interesting. So, Los Angeles is, of course, home to a lot of immigrants. There's a lot of service industry, garment industry, etc., in which these people are employed, not to mention agriculture. So, all of these things, these people live here. I was looking at a map today. Somebody has produced a map which shows that Los Angeles County has more people than the overwhelming majority of US states. So they are essentially doing this in a densely populated part of the United States, so that's one set of things. Another thing you have to bear in mind is that this is the first. I mean, Trump has actually ordered in the National Guard without consulting the governor. This has not happened since the 1960s, when Johnson sent in the National Guard in that case to actually protect the protesters. Now they are being sent out against the local population that is protesting what seems to them to be an illegal act of the United States. So this is a very incendiary situation. I'm not surprised that the governor of California has described it as such, and this is not going to end well. I should also add that, of course, having campaigned on deporting 11 million people, Trump has brought it down now to 1 million, but even that is a lot of people. But the fact that he brought it down itself shows that he knows he's playing with fire, and that's what he's doing right now.
Let's take a look at probably a larger background. Qian Jun, rising cost of living in cities like LA, correlates with polarized narratives. Immigrants drain resources on one hand versus they are scapegoats for failed policies. To what extent are underlying economic pressures, inflation, housing costs, wage stagnation, being channeled into both sides, probably support for harsh immigration policies and the camp protesting against them in affected urban areas?
So I think certainly undocumented workers have been used as scapegoats for a lot of social issues. I used to live in East Coast of the U.S. for many years. I think the economic implication here is actually pretty clear. Even if they only take away 1 million, as discussed, as compared to 10 million or 11 million, the key is these undocumented workers, not only they fill important positions, usually they take on jobs, usually American citizens do not want to work under these conditions. The other thing that's very important is that usually these undocumented workers, they're paid very low wages. And what we've seen, it's more than the people who are taken away, because this has created such uncertainty among the immigration circles. There are a lot of undocumented workers are now afraid to work, and as a result of that, and this is going to continue, that's going to continue to raise the labor cost in the U.S. And then you add that to higher living costs as a result of inflation in the earlier period. That's going to make things even worse. This is not good for the inflation situation in the U.S. Because in addition to, as we discussed, President Trump has a number of other initiatives. But this one looks like it's going to continue to raise labor costs. And in addition to this, of course, there's also the tariff negotiations. And the higher the level of tariffs, that's also going to drive up inflation. So I think this is a very important point that's going to take the U.S. economy further away from what it was only a few months ago.
Obviously, we'll keep an eye on the development of the situation. Thank you, Qian Jun there. Let's take a short break. We'll be back right after this.